Hi everyone, today we're going to continue our discussion of VTAs and we're going to talk about the conjugations between you and I. So in our previous videos we talked about ones that were involving third person. For today we have only 8 conjugations that we're talking about, and to be honest, when I learned them just through memorization and practice. Some of them are pretty common, but I thought it would be good just to finish out the last 8 conjugations that weren't covered in the previous pattern. So one of the big things that you can take away from this talk today is learning about themes. And I apologize, I don't really know too much about them. The way I understand them is they're the sound that comes after the verb in VTA conjugations, and they help us understand what's happening in the conjugation. And in our previous videos, we talked about and igoo. Today, we're going to talk about 3 new ones. So 3 that we didn't look at all in the previous conjugations. They are igoo, in, and eh. And each of those carry a little bit of meaning. So igoo is we to you. In is in conjugations that are going towards you, the person I'm talking to. And eh are ones that are going towards me as the speaker. So there is a small pattern for this set of conjugations, but again, there's just 8 of them, so I don't know how helpful it'll be for all of you. So first thing is, just like in our other videos, we ask ourselves first, is you, the person I'm talking to, Yin, involved in this? And for all 8 of these, we know that they are, because it's interactions between you and me. And so they actually are all going to start with ge. So I to you, is there a you involved? Yes, starts with a ge. You to me, is there a you involved? Yes, starts with a ge. We to you, is there a you involved? Yes. And so they all just start with a ge. And then we go into our other like tense markers and the verb. So far, so good. The next thing that's going to come up is our theme signs. And we just talked a little bit about them. But again, you can see in is action towards you, the person I'm talking to. Action towards me, the speaker. And igoo is we to you. Those are going to be useful for these 8. There's only, a couple of them, but they continue to be useful as we go through other conjugations in conjunct, and they also help us understand any sound changes that might happen at the end of the verb. So we'll talk about that in a minute. First thing is picking the one that goes in this 2A spot. And so you're going to just ask yourself, is the action happening to you, the person I'm speaking to? As in, is it me to you, or is it happening to me, you to me potentially, or is it us to you? And so once you've established that, you can pick your spot, and you'll have 3 conjugations finished just like that. Giwaabamih, the I actually gets dropped, so it's actually giwaabam, and it's just getting dropped like we've seen over and over again. If it's a short vowel at the end of the verb, we lose it. Giwaabam, giwaabamigoo, we see you, and giwaabamin, So here are some of the ways you will see these theme signs come up in other places. So these are specifically in the conjugations, and we see the IN, meaning action on you, come up in many different places. And so getting comfortable with it having meaning and it having impact on the sound, the last sound of the verb, is going to be something that's pretty useful. So sound changes that will arrive are really interesting and definitely encourage people, once they feel comfortable, to start looking into them. It is the interaction of the last sound in the verb and the theme sign, or the first sound in the conjugation. And so in our previous videos, we talked about AW plus IG equals AAG, and we hear that sound change as we're saying it. These are some of the sound changes that you will see in these conjugations. Okay, so now back to our conjugation. We have ge in the beginning, our verb, and then the theme sign, which is the in, I, or igu. And now here we're going to talk about the pluralization of this first ge. And the way we do that, like in our VAI conjugations, is with an M. So use, giwaabamimin, use or eating. This is the same thing. If it's use plural, we want to add an M here. And so this will add to our conjugations we saw previously, but pluralize the U. So we see use, giwaabamigoom. Use see me, giwaabamim. I see use, giwaabaminim. And for some people, it will be giwaabamininim. I don't really know how to explain that, but it's a pretty distinct sound, and you will probably come across it. You know, a lot of people will end lessons or meetings with it. So it's good to be familiar with both options. And so that's all we're doing right here for this step. And this has gotten us to 6 conjugations, and there's only 2 remaining because we need to have one exception. So what we have here for both of these conjugations of you acting on us is giwaabamimin. You singular acting on us, or you plural acting on us. And that brings us to the end of our 8 conjugations. We start with, is geen involved? And for these 8 conjugations, it always is, because it's between you and me. So there's always a you. And so every one of our conjugations starts with a ge. And then we put in our tenses and our verb, and then we need to pick a theme sign. And so there were 3 options we discussed: I, in, and igu. And then we come to our 1B spot, and that's where we're talking about pluralizing the ge that came at the beginning of the conjugation. So is use plural? If so, add an M. And then the only exception is if it's to us, if it's you or use acting on us, then you're going to want to use min instead, because it's good for both the singular and the plural. So hopefully that is helpful. Those are the only 8 outside of the larger pattern we discussed in our previous videos, and I will link to them if you want to revisit those.